Hello and welcome to Will It Roll. I do apologise, it was meant to be on Grid 2 this week. However, there were some, major issues with it. The replay cameras were really funny, I couldn't get them in the right position, and when I ever did get a car to roll, it would either go off the track and just reset, or you'd wreck it, and then the replay. Basically, I couldn't get the cameras to work properly for this sort of show. It is a shame, there are some sort of spectacular crashes, or there can be, but where I was trying to roll the cars off, or in fact the places where I was trying to roll cars off of, basically you ended up rolling them and then they go flying off the scenery and then they'd fall off somewhere and the game would just automatically reset it before it had finished its roll or something, which kind of looked a bit crappy. So yeah, I do apologise for that. However, we are on Forza 4 and we are going to be rolling some British cars, because that was the other suggestion and a few people would like that idea. So up first we have got an Aston Martin Signet. Possibly one of the worst value for money cars in the. This costs 45,000 credits for what is essentially a Toyota IQ with is IQ or something else? I can't remember. One of the little cars with an Aston Martin badge on it. You can have a 1977 V8 Vantage for less. I think that's like 35,000 credits. This is just a horrendous waste of money. For what it is, as like one of the small city cars, as like an alternative to an Igo, yes, it's actually not terrible. I mean, it's got 97 horsepower, but for the money, no, just don't ever. Anyway, I was expecting this thing to be fairly easy to roll, you know, sort of like the smart car was, because it's fairly small and fairly tall. But it turns out it's not, which confuses me. I don't know why this car in particular. I mean, I guess it's not quite as narrow as a smart car. I'm having a little bit of trouble controlling it, but it is still a very small car, and I would have thought the centre of gravity in this thing is relatively high. It isn't particularly fast. As I said, it has only got 97 horsepower, only weighs 2,000 pounds. Yeah, it's a funny one. I'm not sure why this one here wasn't sort of going to roll standard. It really wasn't interested at all. I spent like sort of 5 minutes, and you kind of get the idea that it's never going to roll, because it was barely even lifting a wheel off the ground. So it was to the upgrade shop, put the suspension on. I think I only raised it. I don't think I stiffened the suspension, and sure enough, first time, there we go, and it tumbles about. I love rolling the smaller cars on here, because once they sort of start rolling, they tumble all over the place. It's quite fun. So there we go, we've got rid of one horrible Aston Martin Signet. I'm not a fan of this car. You probably have guessed. But there we go, that's the first one rolled. Unfortunately, I don't think standard you'll ever get that thing to roll off the curb. There we go, that was some English in that sentence. Up next is the Jaguar XFR in a lovely lavendery purpley colour. Well, why anybody would have bought it in this colour, I don't know, but there we go. Now, the reason why I am rolling this one is some of you might remember a while ago we raced some four-door saloon cars against a Ford GT40. The Ford GT40 won, but of the four-door saloon cars, this is the worst, to be honest. This is really not a good handling car. I don't know what it's like in real life, but on Forza, nah, this thing is not particularly good. So yeah, we're going to roll it. Now this is an A-class car, 510 horsepower, weighs a fair bit, 4,000 pounds. So it is quite a quick car, but handling is a bit of an issue. And as you can already see, rolling it isn't that easy. Again, this was one that I wasn't expecting to have a huge amount of trouble with, because if you look at it, well, I missed the curve that time completely. Terrible handling car, not my terrible driving at all. I was expecting this to be fairly straightforward, because I would have thought anyway, it has a fairly high centre of gravity. Again, I mean, it's quite a tall car, but apparently not. It is not easy to roll, as you can see me. They're sort of going sideways. I tried a few times. That's probably the closest I got it with this thing standard. The Jaguar also has a easy removable front bumper. That's the first time I've had a car just remove a bumper with that little damage from anything else. As you can see, it just wasn't going to roll standard. There's quite a few attempts you're not seeing on here, because it was just not much was happening really. So it was to the upgrade shop again for the upgraded suspension. I can't remember if I stiffened the suspension on this one here either. First attempt was still not quite. Looking a little bit more promising. A little bit of sideways stuff there as well. This car probably one of the ones that took the longest of all of these ones today. As we see again, even with the upgrades, it wasn't being that cooperative. But of course, eventually, this wouldn't be Will It Roll if the thing didn't fall over in the end. And there we go. The Jaguar has fallen, and there's a little bit of a spin, and parked in my favourite tyre bundle of them all. So yes, the Jaguar XFR has rolled. This was one that surprised me actually. I was expecting this to be a lot easier than it was. It did require a bit of an upgrade, but there we go. So we move on to next. What have we got next? This car. The happy car. This is the Austin Healey Sprite Mark 1. One of the least powerful cars you'll find in Forza, and only 45 horsepower. With an amazing engine, but it does only weigh 1,400 pounds, so it weighs like nothing. I quite like this car. Just if you look at it, it's just such a happy car. It's a nice car to drive. It's kind of quite fun. Yeah, it's something a little bit different, and I like that. I've always liked cars that are a little bit. Look at it smiling at you. It's such a silly car. I do kind of like it. Now, this one I was expecting to be tricky to roll, mainly because of the lack of speed. Because yeah, he's really not very fast. But also the suspension, as it turns out, is very, very soft. And as you see there, our first attempt, it's not really going to roll. Somehow, I don't know, how do I miss the curb in such a slow car? I will never know. I tried going off the sort of the second curb and then somehow spun it. My driving has not been good today. This car, it's just never going to roll this thing standard. I missed the curb again. It's just not going to go. I'm pretty sure of that. I mean, I don't even think it lifted a wheel off the ground on all of these runs, which doesn't surprise me. You look at how soft the suspension is on this thing. If we go around here, is it going to show it? No, I missed the curve again. That was clever of me. Yeah, it's just really wasn't going to go. So it was to the upgrade shop and some new parts. Suspension was stiffened and it was raised. The reason why it was stiffened is because of sort of the wallowiness, although I probably didn't need to because it was racing suspension. But never mind. And there we go. It was on, I think that was the first or second attempt. It is has rolled over. And again, I was surprised that rolled with just the one upgrade, considering how slow this thing is. I mean, it has a fairly high ride height, I guess, but it was more straightforward with that one being upgraded than I was expecting it to be. So we move on to our final car because the video hadn't taken too long, and this is an MGA. No, it's an MGA. There we go, because they couldn't name their cars anything creative. I quite like the colour on this one. It's incredibly bright blue. I actually quite like this car in general. For an F-Class car, yeah, of course it's not particularly fast. It's got about 100 horsepower, weighs about 2,000 pounds. But yeah, I actually do quite like driving this car. It was quite a nice car to drive. And it wasn't sort of too silly. Will I roll this thing standard? Well, no. It's another old British sort of sports car. Whatever you want to call it. Again, it's got the soft suspension that makes it incredibly hard to even get it to lift a couple of wheels off the ground. And again, I managed to miss the curb despite driving a really slow car. I don't know how I was doing that. It takes a special skill, I think, to be able to miss the blooming curves with these things. Standard, no, it's not fast enough to sort of overcome such a soft suspension. That was about the best that I got it. And then we're kind of losing control. Nearly got it back. Ooh, just about avoided the wall. I'm having trouble with these slow cars. So again, off to the upgrade shop. It was upgraded suspension, it was raised and probably stiffened. I can't remember on this car again. And this is attempt number 1, I believe. And whoop, there we go. The MG has been rolled and does a little breakdance on the floor. And there we go. So there was no standard cars were rolled today. I tried to sort of make things interesting with my choice of British cars. There are some different cars in there, cars you probably won't have seen that much of. They were all fairly tricky to roll, I'm going to be honest, but with the upgrades in, they all went over fairly easily. So there we go. That is it for this episode, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I do apologise that this isn't on Grid 2. I did try. There may be some of the clips. I think I got like 2 clips that are actually usable, maybe at the end of this video or in a minute in this video. Next week, I'm going to try going on Forza Horizon. It could be a little bit awkward because I'm going to have to be filming and Daniel will have to be driving the cars. Because filming on Horizon is tremendously hard. So hopefully we'll be on Forza Horizon next week, so leave your suggestions for cars we should roll on there. We don't have many of the DLCs for that, so yeah, I think we have like 1 or not even that. So just cars from the standard games, not the DLC stuff. So thank you very much for watching, and until then, goodbye.